Hey, man.
What's up?
Have you ever heard of the Great Molasses Flood?
The Great Molasses Flood?
Yeah.
Is this similar to what we talked about, the Canadian syrup heist?
I mean, there are parallels.
Okay.
Here, it's also known as the Boston Molasses Disaster,
That's a mouthful.
or the Great Boston Molasses Flood,
Okay.
or my personal favorite, the Boston Molassacre.
Oh, God. Who owned the molasses? Was
Okay.
this a city utility?
Paint the tank brown so nobody can tell that it's leaking.
Oh, my gosh. What?
Like, you're just bottling up the Boston Harbor and selling it as sweet tea.
Yeah, that was actually during the Molassacre period. Beer, fine spirits, explosives. Things I learned last night. Tilln it. I feel like you chose this topic. Oh, I don't even think there's anything else interesting about the topic.
It's
I think
just
you
today.
saw that. You didn't come up with that.
No, I didn't come up with that.
That's
I
like,
wish I did.
Is it in the Wikipedia article?
It's in the Wikipedia.
Yeah, 10,000%. You just read you were like, oh, Boston Molasses, whatever. Molasses Convention, whatever it was called.
The Molasses Convention.
The Molasses Effect, all right?
Yeah.
And then you were like, the Boston Molassacre.
Yeah.
And then you cried.
Yeah, I laughed for a good 15 minutes.
Yeah, and then you were like, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah,
And there's
absolutely.
nothing else about this. You're just going to be like, it happened in this year. They spilled a bunch of molasses everywhere.
Yeah, they spilled a couple bottles of molasses and called it a Molassacre.
We should do that. We should go to the grocery store. Do they sell molasses at the grocery store? I'll tell you
Yeah,
where
yeah.
it has molasses. You know the last place. You know where I know molasses from?
Where?
Is Lambert's.
Do they really have it there?
Did you ever go to? Yeah. They got a person who walks around like a little, not a jar, but like a tin,
tub.
almost like a coffee tin of molasses.
I think you need to describe Lambert's to our listeners.
Okay, Lambert's is it's Cracker Barrel, but bigger, right?
Yeah.
It's like a Cracker Barrel and TGI Fridays met in the middle, right? And then your servers
Yeah.
throw rolls at you.
Yeah.
Like there's a guy who stands at the end of the room and literally throws rolls.
Yeah.
And
What does he
then-
yell? He comes out and yells something.
I don't know, probably something like yeah, like it's very Silver Dollar City-ish, you know.
Yeah.
And so they throw rolls, but they also it's all of the sides. You order some food, but all of your sides, like they're coming around with big bowls.
Yeah,
of
there's just
home-style-
people-
It's home style cooking.
There's people in like giant chicken costumes walking
That's
around
not true.
with big
Shut
bowls of food, and they come over and they're like,
Why would they be in chicken costumes?
wings!
What are you talking about? What would the person who gives them molasses be dressed as? You tell me.
yeah, just like
He's the
a bunch
molasses
of
monster.
molasses. The molasses man.
The molass lass. I am the molass. You're like, what?
Yeah.
Why are the costume? What? No, they wear like trousers and not overalls, but they wear like suspenders and stuff.
Yeah. They look.
It's
they
a
fit the
very
part.
popular place. It's very busy. The rolls
Yeah.
are big. The food is.
Yeah, I mean,
know.
if you go there, you wait like 45 minutes just to go see every time.
When did you
at
go? Did
1
you go
o'clock
with
in the
me?
afternoon.
Did we
Or
go
2
together?
o'clock, 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Did we go together?
I don't know. I went a few times. I mean, I lived down there for 5 years.
You know, there's two of them.
Where's the other one?
Mobile, Alabama.
Oh God. So in Boston in 1919,
All right.
and really just across the
1919.
world in 1919.
Everywhere loved molasses.
Yeah, molasses was a big deal.
What
because,
is molasses? Why is it different from syrup?
I don't know.
Syrup?
It's thicker.
Syrup?
Thicker. I don't know. Thicker.
Thicker? Where does molasses come from? Because does syrup come from trees? Does molasses also come from trees?
Oh, it's refined raw sugar.
Okay, wait. So honey comes from bees, and syrup comes from trees. Molasses comes from knees.
Oh God.
We're just wringing out people's legs.
Give me that knee.
Give me that knee juice.
Yeah. So
That nectar.
yeah, it's interesting. So it's like I don't know. I didn't look this up, but
You didn't look up. You were gonna do a whole story on like the Molassacre, but you don't know what molasses is. You couldn't handle a simple question. I won't ask any more. Don't worry. I led with a pretty basic one. I led with like a really easy question. I won't do that again. I promise.
it's from refined to sugar. So you refine sugar into molasses somehow.
Okay, cool.
Like I assume it's like caramelized.
And they do that in Boston?
Then they put, well, they do that all over the place. But in Boston, so I'll lead with the event.
Okay.
And then we can kind of backtrack down how it all happened. But we'll lead with the event. So on January 15th, 1919, and approximately 12:30 p.m., it was an unseasonably warm day. So everybody was very excited about this.
What month?
January 15th. And so it was oddly warm.
Yeah.
And so everybody was enjoying the weather. They had their windows open. They were doing their household chores outside. They took their laundry and were folding their laundry out in the front lawn because, they were like, it's nice. Let me get outside. People were going home from work early to go shopping with their wives, Like it was one of those days where it was like, it's a warm day in January 1919. We're going to enjoy the weather, right? Let's get out on the horse and enjoy this fine day.
Yeah, the economy is great.
Yeah.
We have no idea about the looming 10 years
well
in the future,
Well, they're about to hit the roaring 20s, so the next 10 years are really
pretty awesome.
The 10 years after that.
Rough.
Yeah, and then the 10 years after that. And then
But isn't time kind of like, if you really think about it, isn't
really
time a lot like molasses?
What's that mean?
Well, if I knew what molasses was, that analogy would hold up a little easier.
It's slow and sweet.
Whatever. Ew. I don't like that at all. I feel like we have to cut that out because of what you said and how you said it. Like it's not necessarily inappropriate. It's just the fact that you went slow and sweet.
Slow and sweet.
It just feels wrong. I don't know how to describe it. Anyway.
So at about 12:30 p.m., everybody's out enjoying their day.
Afternoon.
And a large storage tank filled with 2.3 million gallons of molasses explodes.
Storage tank?
Yeah.
Explodes.
Yeah. Like just burst under the pressure
expands?
of holding 2.3 million gallons of molasses, sending the 2.3 million gallons or 13,000 tons worth of molasses across Boston.
And people were outside folding their laundry.
Yeah, everyone's out there folding laundry.
They're like, I just cleaned these.
It created a 40-foot wave of molasses.
Shut up.
That was traveling at an estimated 35 miles an hour.
Shut up.
And just moved
what?
like a tidal wave into the city and down the city streets. The buildings closest to the blast.
It's 4 stories.
Yes. The buildings closest
to... stop. I literally was not taking this topic seriously because I thought this was stupid. So you're saying that 2.3 million gallons of... What do they even hold these in?
It's just a giant storage tank.
Why do they have a giant storage? That doesn't make sense to me either. You're just like, yeah, Boston everywhere actually had 2.3 million gallons of molasses.
This was a unique situation, but we'll get back to it because it wouldn't make sense.
Okay. So now there's a 40-foot molasses tsunami.
Yeah. Molassami.
Tsunamolasses. Tsunamolasses coming through.
Yeah.
Do people die from this?
Yeah. So 21 people were killed in the event. 150 people were injured.
If I go out like that, don't put it on my tombstone. Or I don't know. I'm conflicted because if I drown in molasses.
Yeah. Yeah, it was literally the buildings nearest to the epicenter of the blast were taken from their foundation and just carried by the molasses. And some of them this was right near the docks. So the firehouse actually got taken into the bay because it just sent it in all directions.
Okay, so when you say blast.
Yes.
This
wasn't like a fiery inferno blast. This was like your belt can't sustain the pressure.
Okay, but it wasn't intentional. That's what I was trying to say. No one blew up the molasses tank. Okay, there's a conspiracy. Great, cool. There's a molasses conspiracy. Perfect. But there's no explosive device that causes this.
No, there's no. It's not. This isn't a fiery explosion.
Okay.
This isn't. Yeah. This is
just regular old molassying.
Yeah, molassying around. Yeah. It tore down. It hit a support beam in the elevated railroad that went through the city and tore the bridge down.
Yeah.
Nearly missing a train that was passing by. And then luckily someone nearby ran up the railroad and just sprinted up the railroad to find an engineer and be like, hey, you need to tell all the trains to stop because the
bridge is
railroad's down. And they're like, why?
There's a wave of molasses.
Like, you're not going to believe this.
Like, we don't have time. We don't have time to talk about this.
There's a report that there was an officer on patrol when the event happened right by where it started. And the quote is my favorite thing ever. He said, send all emergency vehicles and personnel to the cross streets. There is a wave of molasses traveling down 19th. And it's like, I'm just curious. I'm most curious about all the rest of the emergency personnel who were like, excuse me, what did you just say? Like, what?
How do you...
The newspaper...
what do you do if you see a wall of molasses coming toward you?
Well, my first guess is that you have no idea it's molasses. You just see this black wave, this black tidal wave, and you probably think it's the end of the world. I'm surprised that this officer knew it was molasses. They probably smelled it. I don't know, man.
He was just like... It smells like molasses. He did that. He was in 1919, so he's like a detective, right?
They had good
so
noses.
He's like walking around. He's like, "Oh, I got a hunch that says this is molasses." Or he's in the fifth story of a building, right? It goes down. He just stuck his finger out, went
molasses,
molasses. Well,
yeah, that's actually exactly what happened.
He's like, get all the cars we got down here. We got a wave of molasses going down 19th Street.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, so that's pretty accurate. A local paper the day after reported, because this was still in the like transition era between.
Would you rather get shot or drowned in molasses? That's my question.
I don't know. I feel like
both.
Yeah, that's a tough question, actually. I don't know what I would choose.
Okay. Go ahead. Anyway.
A local paper the day after said that because this was a similar scenario to what we have happening now, where it's the middle of the transition between horse and buggy and automobile. So not everybody's adopted it yet, right?
Yeah.
Where we're the same thing, right? We're in the transition between
automobiles
and Teslas.
And just...
fake cars.
And not going outside anymore. There's some people who still go to work, and there's some people who just haven't left their house for 3 years.
Okay, that's pretty fair, actually.
Yeah, that's the transition.
So the paper said that the molasses pool, that it ended up settling and being
That's what I was going to say.
knee-deep.
Did it... Oh, okay. So it most of it go into the harbor then?
A lot of it went into the harbor, but a lot of it stretched into Greater Boston.
So is the Boston Harbor sweet?
It's full of tea and molasses. So let's be honest.
I mean, that's what Chick-fil-A is serving. Chick-fil-A, if you order a sweet tea, it's just the Boston Harbor. Oh, that's sweeter than the Boston Harbor. I'll tell you what.
They're just scooping it up.
That's how I describe people, by the way. I go, she's sweeter than the Boston Harbor.
Sweeter than the Boston Harbor. Yeah.
Why do you got a little anyway? Little whistle. Sweeter. Hey, if you're enjoying this episode about the Boston Molassacre, I want to give a shout out to Michael_IN in our Discord channel for giving us this topic. That's a way that you can influence this show. If you've got something you want us to research, you want us to talk about, then join our Patreon and you can give us tips. You can give us things that you want to learn about or have learned about, things that you find out about topics we have discussed. That's all in our Discord. To get access to that, you just can pick up a patron and all the info can be sent to you if you text Tilln to 66866. It's not a text thing. We're not going to send you a bunch of stuff to your phone. It's going to send you one link if you text Tilln to 66866. So thank you, Michael, for giving us this topic. I really enjoyed it. It's really funny. And back to the episode so you can enjoy it too.
So the newspaper said that when everything settled, horses lined the streets like a fly trap, like flies on a fly trap, because they just all got caught in the molasses. And that was what was so scary about the situation is it quickly, as it traveled through, it quickly like hardened.
Yeah, crystallized.
Yeah, and so it was almost like a quicksand. Like people were getting stuck in it. Like if they weren't like drowning in it, they were like getting stuck. And so immediately like the rescue operations began, and people started like police officers and then the Navy that was stationed nearby were just traveling around pulling people out, like wading through this molasses. And a bunch of people were injured. A bunch of people actually died because they were unlucky and they got stuck upside down, and they suffocated under it.
Oh, that's scary.
I know, doesn't that?
That's scary to think of drowning in water, but to drown in molasses?
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty rough. So, and then a bunch of people were injured by things like their building that they were in getting swept off its foundation.
Yeah.
And then
or like the panic of like people running and stuff, and that obviously.
Yeah. Someone was panicking. They just started beating people. He's like, this is crazy. Come over here, I gotta punch you.
That's what I do when I'm scared, dude. I'm not allowed at any haunted houses anymore, man. I just start like, I walk outside, like I go, oh, that's scary. And then I walk outside and I just find the nearest like middle schooler, and I just freaking
just wail them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was rampant.
Yeah. Lots of fear fighting. I have a condition called fear fighting. Yeah, it's whenever I get scared,
You know how your psychologist tells you to fight your fears? I fight people near my fears.
I fight because of my fears. He's like so good at fighting, they put him in the UFC, right? So he's like training, right? He's in the UFC, and then like right before, like they gotta have a clown like hiding in the audience or whatever.
Just spooks
and like
him.
he's up in the ring.
The bell rings.
The guy's like his opponent is over there like, right? And he's up there like, okay, all right. And they're like, hey, turn around, right? And he turns around. There's a little clown with a chainsaw, and he goes, "Wah!" And it just starts like.
It's like a legitimate jump scare. It just jumps up behind the fence. It's like, there's the organ player in the stadium.
But they gotta keep changing it up because he can't get scared by the same thing. Yeah. He's like, yeah, I know there's a clown with a chainsaw. I know there's a clown coming. They're like, no, turn around.
Turn around. Like, ah! Yeah, so
wow.
So a lot of people got beat.
Golly. So it's knee-deep molasses.
Molasses.
So Boston is knee-deep in molasses right now.
Knee-deep in molasses. And it was adjusted for inflation. It's estimated that it caused $10 million in damage.
Jeez. Yeah, how's the cleanup go?
Yeah, so the cleanup...
Well, first you got to do search and rescue.
Yeah, so search and rescue lasted for about 5 days. Anybody that they didn't find after that, they just presumed dead. What was really interesting is, so this is a different era. On this, I don't think they would have got this cleaned up as quickly as they did had this happen now. And the reason is,
why?
What they did is they took a fireboat, like a firefighter boat, with their water, and they just kind of sprayed Boston down and directed the molasses back into the Boston harbor, and just sprayed it all into the harbor. And we're like, that's fine. And anything remaining, they just dumped a bunch of sand on any of the molasses remaining and let it kind of soak into the sand, and then they just pushed that into the harbor also. So they pretty much just took all the molasses that was the 2.3 million gallons of molasses and then a bunch of sand and just pushed it into the harbor. And
they weren't even protesting anything.
Yeah, they weren't.
It wasn't even a tax protest.
They were like, well, it handled the tea pretty well. It should be able to handle all this molasses too. So yeah, so they just pushed it into the harbor, and the harbor itself was brown for 2 years.
Jeez.
Because it was just full of molasses. And what's interesting about this is...
You don't think they would do that now because they would be like, we can't just put all that in the harbor.
Yeah, we can't just dump this in the harbor. We're going to have to take this out by the truckload.
To where? Where do you
the molasses
relocate molasses?
The molasses flats. That's where we get them, the molasses flats in Kentucky.
Okay, sure.
Just take it off.
The Kentucky Molasses Flats.
Yeah, the MKF. You haven't heard of that? KMF.
I actually started.
KFC.
I actually started a theme park, kind of like a water park, but it's a molasses park, right? And so it's really cool because we got like a lazy river, and then like we actually hired teenagers to be my lifeguards, and
so they said that for about 7 years, everything on this side of Boston was sticky. I don't know.
Shut up.
I don't know if it actually was for 7 years. But locals in this neighborhood swear to this day that on a hot summer's day, it smells like molasses. To this day, we'll swear.
No,
and
it's just legend. Okay.
I don't know.
We got to go.
Let's go on a hot summer's day and just sit out there and be like, you smell
Why
molasses?
do you keep saying it like that? You're like a hot summer's
That's what
day.
they say. It has to get hot. It has to, the cement or the dirt or whatever has to bake just enough to let those deep molasses fumes out. Yeah. It's like the earth sweats molasses out there.
I'm picking up tones of molasses.
There seems to be a lot of molassi here. Did anything happen?
This is kind of molassy. I don't understand.
So.
Yeah, that was actually during the Molassonic period.
What?
You know how you take like people's names and turn them into weird? I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Like Plato was Platonic. Now it's like the Molassonic.
Yeah,
Molassonic.
that's interesting.
Whatever, dude. Shut up. Gosh, I wish you drowned in molasses.
Gosh, okay. So
I'm gonna molasses board you.
Oh God!
I'm gonna put a towel over your head and just
gosh, that sounds scary.
Pour molasses on your head.
Actually, I don't even know if that would work because the whole thing.
Have you been waterboarded?
I don't think so.
That.
I feel like I tried it in high school, but I don't think I don't think I got it.
I hate you so much. I hate everything about you.
I jokingly
remember. Say it, and then you go, I think I tried it in high school.
What is remember.
It? Like, what is it, marijuana? You're just like, yeah, I think I tried it in high school once. I don't like, we're talking about waterboarding.
I vaguely remember.
Yeah, all my friends did it. I was never into it. My friends were like, all the cool kids waterboarded each other.
I like have a very vague memory.
I remember all the kids
being
sneaking
in my
out
basement
in the middle of prom to go
bunch of my
waterboard
friends
each other.
And a wet washcloth and just sticking it over people's face and pouring water on them. I don't remember if I got waterboarded, but I have this vague memory of us being like, I wonder what that's like.
I also have this vague memory of like people in suits standing over me, you know, like it was around that time that like me and my friends had like a secret language, like I made up codes and stuff, and this van followed me. I don't remember. They ran me off the road. I rolled 8 times, got out, fist fought the guy.
They shot me
because I was scared. So my instinct was to fist fight the guy.
Fist fight them. I
don't remember much, but I woke up in like this really dark room and. Yeah. Honestly, it smelled like molasses.
It smelled very molassy in there. So
what are you talking about? I tried it in high school.
I don't. Maybe
I'll
make some phone calls after this.
I never had a waterboard till I was 21. I did have a sip of my mom's. I did have a sip of my mom's waterboard.
There was one time at my friend's house where we mixed it with a little bit of Pepsi, but just a little bit.
No, all I did was put a washcloth on my face and pretended to get waterboarded.
Oh, stop!
Oh, guys.
No. Fine, I'll tell you.
I so got waterboarded last night. Oh, how waterboarded did you get? Did you?
It's like here.
Did you go to Stephanie's party? Oh my gosh, we all got waterboarded.
They actually recorded it on tape. I can play it back for you. It's just you gargling some Listerine.
They audio recorded. You're saying that they voice memoed you getting waterboarded. They were like, we're going to want to document this.
Want to hear this.
Our phones have the capability of picture and video. But here's the thing that doesn't get enough attention is the voice memo app. I'm going to pull this bad boy up and record a sound. What do they record you on the little spy pin they got? Oh my god! Chest pain. Oh man. Yeah.
I think I need a break. Jeez.
I'd like to waterboard you now. So. So, okay. So they clean it up faster than we would have now. They just brushed it into the harbor.
Yeah, they just brushed it into the harbor and we're like, yeah, this is fine.
And so then does an investigation start? Like who owned the molasses? Was this a city utility?
Yeah. Yeah. Back in that day, they didn't know that it wasn't good to do this. So they just had pipes full of molasses going to everybody's house. And you could turn on a faucet of molasses.
Shut up.
People bathed in it. Everybody was so sticky.
What's that? Yeah, I got molasses on tap. Yeah. Yeah.
No, so here's what happened. All right, so there was this company called the Purity Distilling Company.
Purity Distilling Company?
Yeah, okay. And so they mostly made alcohol, but they also made like non-alcoholic beverages and bombs. So apparently
you gotta diversify your portfolio.
Yeah, you gotta make sure you're diverse. Apparently,
their tabs on the website are beer, fine spirits, explosives? Question mark, explosives?
It's beer, bottles, and bombs. So
you're a branding expert. Look at you.
So they apparently molasses is really, you can make bombs out of it. I didn't know that. But it's a key component in munitions is what it says on the Wikipedia page.
Really?
Yeah. So they were really popular in those three industries because they had a lot of molasses. Well, something interesting was happening in 1919, and that was the looming cloud of the Prohibition.
Oh yeah, so they're like trying to store up stuff so that they can kind of slowly leak out because they're around the harbor. So a lot of distilleries and breweries were on water sources because that's how they just did through rivers and stuff.
Yeah, so their goal was let's make as much alcohol as we possibly can before the Prohibition. Yeah, and make as much money as we can to kind of wait this thing out because I think they're like this is going to last forever.
There's no way it can last forever.
Yeah, like people like to get drunk too much. It's not going to happen.
Man, so you're telling me 1918, they have a pandemic. Yeah. Right? They got to wear masks and stuff.
Yeah.
And then 1919, the Molassacre. Like they're trying to because they know when this. Wait, did the government be like, hey, guys, we're talking about Prohibition? I guess
they announced it. They were like, hey, Prohibition's coming on this date. Get drunk while you can. Like that's.
Did they really do that?
Happened. I think they didn't say it like that, but they were like...
That's what they did with COVID last year, though. They were like, hey, guys, listen, we're going to shut down on Tuesday. So you have the weekend.
Have fun.
Go do your St. Patrick's Day stuff, but it's dangerous.
Yeah, so that's pretty close to what happened. But they had months and months to prepare for
Prohibition.
For the lack of alcohol.
Yeah.
And so this company was like, we're going to make a ton of alcohol. So they just bought as much molasses as they could.
Yeah. So
they had this storage tank that could hold 2.5 million gallons.
And they filled it.
And they filled it to 2.3. Here's what's interesting about this storage tank. At that point in history, you needed building permits for buildings, but not for storage units.
Interesting.
Because this was a storage unit, there's no...
regulation on it. There's nothing. No...
Yeah. So,
all you need is just 4 walls.
Yep. And so typically what would happen is this would be a storage tank that was holding something of this capacity and that weight and density would be quite a bit thicker than it was. It was actually half the thickness than people in that day would have done it. Today, they said it probably would have been required to be 3 times as thick as it was. But it was half as thick as they would have normally done it to save money. They used less like bolts than they were supposed to hold it all together.
Okay.
And it repeatedly, there was repeated warnings that something was awry with this storage tank because after they got it and they started filling it up, attendants would constantly report that it groans. Yeah, they were like, this storage tank is constantly groaning and moaning.
So it was a haunted storage tank. Got it.
Yeah. And so the storage tank was groaning and the rivets were like popping out and it was leaking molasses. So much so that local kids would make a stop by the molasses tank
to go
daily
lick it,
to just scoop up a bunch of molasses.
I'm glad they were at least using their hands. I'm glad they weren't licking the side of a storage tank.
Stuck. You get that?
Is that a?
Do you not
is
know
that a Christmas story?
Yeah, it's a Christmas story.
Okay, I was trying to make one. I was trying to get there.
I beat you to it.
And you said stuck.
I just went straight to the punchline.
You went straight to it. Yeah.
Yeah. So
And you just trusted the audience on that one. I'm really proud of you, Tim.
I think a lot of them got it.
You know, you've really grown as a content creator.
Okay, shut up. So the owners of the company, had become such a problem of it leaking that they just said, "Hey, paint the tank brown so nobody can tell that it's leaking."
Oh my gosh! What? Yeah, no, I have a black car. That's why, you know, the black drips you see underneath the car, that's the paint that during a hot summer's day, the paint drips off.
The paint drips off a little
bit. It's like, I think you got an oil leak. No, it's a black car.
It's a black car. That's the
idiot.
Yeah. So that's
what's that? You look like you just paint your whole face purple. I did.
I did. Yeah.
It's like, is it to hide that black eye that you have? No,
I don't have a black eye.
My face
is purple. Face.
I have a purple.
Well, you see,
what would be more embarrassing?
I was walking on the beach one day and I stubbed my toe on a genie's lamp.
I'll say what happened is that I was walking around the corner, all right, to go to the bathroom. A guy was walking out of the bathroom at the same time. I scared him, all right, and then he beat the heck out of me. I mean, he got so scared.
I didn't paint my face. My whole face is a bruise.
I mean, it's yeah. So what's more embarrassing, to have a purple face or a black eye? I would say a purple face. I'm a Vikings fan. What can I say?
What can I say? The game's in 3 months, okay? I'm getting ready.
Like, the Vikings don't exist yet. It's 1990. All right, go ahead.
So
they just painted it. They were like,
they just painted it brown.
They're doing more effort to conceal the fact that this is like.
Yeah.
They're just like, let's just shh.
Yeah, they're like, it's okay. It's fine. Everything's fine. Well, and then to make matters even worse, they hired someone to maintain this tank and just make sure that it was safe, right? He was the safety engineer for the tank.
I can't imagine how big a 2.5 million gallon tank is.
It's pretty big. It's pretty big.
Well, thanks. No, I'm having trouble in my head imagining. Do you have a picture?
Yeah, it's like 2.3 million gallons worth. I don't know. Hold on.
What am I gonna? I'm gonna think of 2.3 million milk jugs.
Yeah, just stack them on top of each other in your head.
Look at all those molasses jugs. Look at those jugs of molasses.
Let me see if I can.
Can you find something that is 2.5 million gallons? Is there a fish tank that's 2.5 million gallons? Like, I'm trying to imagine how big I just need to see how big 2.5 million gallons of volume is.
It's like those it's like a grain elevator is what it looks like. They've got another picture over here somewhere. You see that?
Okay.
So it's big.
It's big.
It's big.
Full of molasses.
They hired a safety engineer to kind of watch over it. The problem with this guy is he wasn't an engineer and he wasn't really concerned with safety. He was like a businessman before this. Like, he had no qualifications. Yeah. He had no idea what he was looking at. He would just kind of come over to it every day, give it a couple slaps on the side, and be like, "Yep, still sturdy."
Give it a couple slaps on the side, just. Still holding up, guys. No, hey, yeah.
It's great.
Just gotta wait for it to heat up a little bit. Yeah, it's gonna be a nice day. It's gonna be a good day. Yeah, keep going.
So here's the thing. There was clear negligence on their part with this tank. Like, they never were ahead of the ball on this. And then they had the opportunity to get all this molasses in an effort to be able to make a bunch of alcohol before Prohibition. And so they just filled it with as much. And it was like all signs pointed to something's going to go wrong here. Yeah. But they just kept going.
Alex, will you be able to put in pictures of the tank so that other people can... Hold on. Alex, would you be able to write down how much that is? Great. Cool. Just try to give him a thumbs up.
Thanks. Thanks. I just need to... If you could, thanks.
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, gosh.
Hey, thanks for checking out Things I Learned Last Night. If you like what we're doing and you want to help us do more of it, one way you can do that is to purchase some merchandise. We've got mugs, t-shirts, all that stuff on the websites, tilln.com/merch. If you go to tilln.com/merch, all of that is there for you to check out, and we would love for you to be a part of the show and helping us to do more things. So thanks for checking this out, and back to the episode. I was trying to take that bit as far as it would go.
I thought you were going to just leave your hand there the rest of the episode.
I was trying to. Honestly, my arm was getting tired pretty quick. I was like, this is not because my hand was like turned like this. You know,
yeah, you had a weird angle.
I know. That's I did the thing where if you're ever helping someone move in and the object is really heavy.
Yeah.
And you don't want to admit that you can't lift it.
Yeah.
You're like, I just got a weird angle.
Yeah, I just got.
It's got like a weird. Yeah, it's got a weird.
I just got a wrangle.
I got a weird grip on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just can't get a good grip.
So, the families of those injured and killed.
They sued this company.
Yeah, they formed.
Rightfully so.
What is to this day the largest class action lawsuit in Massachusetts history, and still one of the largest in the nation's history.
Really?
Yeah.
Because all those businesses, all those buildings have to sue this company.
Yeah, because they're like, this was just a ridiculous.
This company, like the owner was like, oh, thank God we made all this alcohol. Because I am gonna, sad.
Yeah, so they're
bankrupt, obviously.
I don't know. I don't know if they actually did end up bankrupting or not. But
this company had enough money to pay out that kind of lawsuit?
Yeah, so what they ended up paying out, they lost the suit. They ended up paying $7,000 per victim, which was equivalent to $104,000 per victim today.
$7,000 was equivalent to $104,000 today.
Today, yeah.
There's actually something that scares me about inflation.
Yeah.
Is that we'll all eventually be millionaires, but we'll have this life that we have right now.
Yeah, it won't matter. A millionaire won't be an interesting thing. Yeah, what are we going to call rich people then? That'll be sad.
What are we going to call them?
Yeah, you can't call them millionaires.
The Bezos-ayers? Was that a Bezos-ayer over there?
Okay, that's annoying.
Yeah, I don't like it either.
So the defense that this company came up with was that it had been blown up by anarchists. They're like, this isn't our fault. This is the anarchists, which sounds like a crazy out of left field idea.
Was that the boogeyman of the 1910s?
Kind of. Well,
because right now it would either be North Korea or Antifa. Yeah. Is what I imagine someone being like, oh yeah, Antifa came from my molasses.
Well, there's actually kind of grounds for it because the anarchists had blown up 3 things on their property recently.
Bald knobbers.
These guys. So here's what happened. These guys, obviously, like I said before, they were making bombs. And there's a bunch of people who opposed the war.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair.
And
they're making bombs for the First World War. That's right.
Yeah. And so
that's what they made. Yeah.
So they opposed the war. And so because they were mad that they were making bombs, they came and blew up stuff on their property. And that actually happened.
I didn't know that most people opposed World War I.
Yeah.
Most Americans opposed the First World War.
Yeah, and up until Pearl Harbor, most Americans.
I was going to say, they didn't like World War II because America wasn't really involved. I mean, we were selling weapons to both sides.
Yeah.
But as soon as Pearl Harbor happens, it's kind of like a 9/11 where all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, America is America.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a bunch of anarchists who had actually done damage to the company. And so they blamed them. And so then under a 3-year investigation was when they found out all this stuff about the tank and how it was poorly manufactured, poorly maintained, and painted brown.
So they're like, was this tank gray last time? They're like, no, it's always been that color.
It's always... okay.
Yeah, hey, no, glad you're here. Yeah, no, it's been brown the whole time.
Always been brown.
Dude, he takes his hand off and it's like the old color. His hand's been there long enough, they just painted over it. They just painted his hand is like his whole arm is that brown color. Like he's just like, yeah, no,
it's just me, the safety engineer.
Yeah, it's me, the safety engineer. Do you want to see my degree? I'm a safety engineer.
I went to Liberty University.
What? And they're like, we're not buying this. You think that was so funny, huh?
Yeah. That's just because that's where one of our producers works.
He doesn't listen to the episodes anymore.
So they lose this suit, and it's one of the biggest suits in American history to this day. And like I said before, the area still smells like molasses. The dirt actually it's a rare form of dirt that's also it's molass dirt.
Okay.
Molad dirt?
Molastic. This molastic dirt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The people who were there and like it happened to them and got got covered in molasses, they're still alive to this day. They have powers. They can shoot molasses from
I really
their
wanted you to be
palms.
like, there's somebody like stuck in a crystallized molasses in the center of Boston, and they're like, yeah, we're gonna chip him out of there in 2070. Yeah, we vowed to leave him there for 150 years. So we're gonna ask him a bunch of questions. You know, they chip him out. He just comes out swinging. He's like, what the heck?
It's like the Liberty Bell, but it's a man.
What? What?
Molasses Bob is what they call him.
Oh my gosh!
There's a little crack going up the side.
They say that they still smell like. Oh, is there anything else that? Did they name any sports teams after molasses?
I wish. All the like cultural influences is like there's like some random like songs that reference it or. But nothing really noteworthy except for Drunk History did an episode on them. But yeah, nothing really noteworthy. This has actually happened a couple times in Honolulu. There was a molasses spill in 2013.
2013, they had a molasses spill. How does that happen? How many gallons?
1,400 tons. I don't see anything that says the gallon equivalent.
How many tons was 2.3 million?
The 2.3 million was 13,000 tons.
So 14,000 tons.
1,400 tons.
Oh.
So this is significantly smaller spill in Honolulu. London had a beer flood.
They had a 4-foot wave coming through.
4-foot wave.
Yeah, what do you do with a wave of molasses that... They had a beer flood?
Yeah, so London had a beer flood. This one was pretty significant. It was 380,000 gallons. And so that was 20 foot tall, the wave. And so there's a similar scenario. A vat of it exploded and blew out a wall in the brewery and sent a flood through London in 1800. So quite a bit before that. And then there was in 2017 there was a Pepsi fruit juice flood.
Oh yeah, that makes sense to me.
Yeah, and that was 7 million gallons of fruit and vegetable juices into the streets of Russia. From the collapse of a Pepsi warehouse.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, the roof of this warehouse unexpectedly collapsed and sent 7 million gallons of Pepsi fruit juice into the streets of Russia.
Jeez. Well, you heard about the Chuck E. Cheese incident.
No, tell me
with the
about
Chuck E. Cheese that had a root beer flood. You know, it took out the whole band. The robot band, just freaking a 12-foot wave. And like they're stuck. Not even because like they're just like the sugar and the drinks and stuff. You know, they're all sticky.
Yeah, they're sticky. A bunch of sticky. What are they?
They
mice?
solved it the same way that they solved the molasses crisis with those kids from Connecticut. You know, they just got all the fat kids in Connecticut together.
Call the Connecticut Tommies.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the Great Molasses Flood or the Boston Molassacre. I prefer that. The Boston Molassacre. I mean.
Wait. Why didn't they call this Molassachusetts?
Molassachusetts.
That's funny.
Hello, welcome to Molassachusetts.
They got a whole museum.
Yeah. What's really sad is today, all they have to memorialize it is a little plaque in the park that's right by it, and it's next to the bocce ball courts.
What?
And like, hey, remember that time? Remember that time? There was a giant flood of molasses right here. Hope you enjoy your bocce ball.
It's like a historic marker. And you look up and you're like, oh gosh. Okay, so wait. In 1919, you're reading this whole thing and you're like, then they had a guy who's not he was a safety engineer, but not a safety engineer.
But not a safety engineer.
And he's like still stuck there. He's like, oh, okay. Yeah, I'm coming, guys. Hold on. You read the whole thing. Like, okay. Painted it brown.
Painted it brown.
$7,000. It's like $104,000. Wow. Yeah, I'm coming, guys. Calm down. Goodness. Wow, I just love the history of Boston. Wow. And then he takes a sip of the Boston Harbor water. Oh, that sure is sweet.
Tastes just like Chick-fil-A.
That's why the Chick-fil-A can't do the Northeast. They got too big of a competitor. They're just they're like you guys at Chick-fil-A? Nah, they didn't do well here.
People in the Northwest knew
Boston
where it was.
Harbor.
Like, you're just bottling up the Boston Harbor and selling it as sweet tea.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, so it's pretty sad. I mean, there's nothing interesting there. They put a baseball field on top of where the tank was, and for some reason, as if they didn't just know this, some seismic researchers came and did like a survey, and they were like, "Yeah, look, here it is underneath the baseball field. See." But they were like, "Yeah, we know. We built that on top of it.
Built it on top of it, yeah."
And he's like, "Look, there it is."
Wait, a researcher came and said that.
Yeah, he's like, "Look, it's underneath."
Hey, did you guys know that you? Yeah, no, we built that here.
That. On top of it, it's named.
It's
Molasses Field.
Molasses Memorial Stadium. Anyway, I couldn't figure it out. Memorium. I couldn't figure out how to combine them. I tried.
Molasses.
Yeah. How about we just stick with Fiddle off? How about that?
Hey, thanks for watching Things I Learned Last Night. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and watch some of our other videos. They're showing up on the screen somewhere around here right now. We'll see you later.